Hello, America. Welcome to the Springer Show. Today we're going to tell it like it is. We're going to stand up for law and order, and we're not going to back down from the truth. We're here to talk about the real issues facing our country, the ones that the mainstream media don't want to touch, the ones that the leftist elite want to sweep underneath the rug. Today we're going to dive a little deeper. We're going to talk about the return of Kilmar Obrego Garcia, these riots over in LA and the ICE raids. And we're going to talk about taking our country back with the Convention of States. We're going to do all this with facts, stats, and the kind of straight talk that our founding fathers will be proud of. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's get started.
This is The Springer Show, the voice of conservative truth. And now, here is your host, Brian Springer.
Good morning. Welcome in. Appreciate you guys being here. Happy to have you along for the ride. Before we get started, I just want to bring up this quote that's very interesting to me, going back to our founding fathers and George Washington. He had a quote that says, "I had always hoped that this land might become a safe and agreeable asylum to the virtuous and persecuted part of mankind, to whatever nation they might belong." That's a very profound quote, but let's just look at it for a second. He said virtuous and persecuted part of mankind. Virtuous is having or showing high moral standard. Persecuted, somebody who is subject to hostility, ill treatment, because of their ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, political beliefs, and the such. So if somebody were to come here seeking asylum, here being the United States, they should be virtuous, and they should fall under a persecution of some sort. But there are those who could argue that many of us here in the United States are persecuted because of our own political beliefs or sexual orientation or religion or ethnicity. So I don't understand why coming here would even help. But most of these immigrants that are being deported are not falling under persecution from their country or being virtuous. First, let's start with Kilmar Obrego Garcia. Now, this cat was in the news several months ago. It was a big to-do. The left was insane because he was deported to El Salvador, even though he was a Salvadorian national, because he had a judgment from a judge saying that he could be deported, just not to El Salvador. Well, he was deported to El Salvador, went to Seacot prison, and it was just a big mess, okay? This guy's become a poster child for everything that's wrong with our broken immigration system. The left has some sort of an obsession with putting illegal aliens ahead of American citizens. The Trump administration, in their speeches, their addresses about Mr. Garcia, constantly said, "You're out, you're not coming back, there's no way you're going to be back on U.S. soil again." It seemed pretty definitive, but unfortunately the left wasn't happy with that, so they got some activist judges. And these activist judges in a legal system that is more interested in protecting criminals than law-abiding Americans, well, Garcia's back. But he's not just back living a happy-go-lucky life. No, he's back, but he's still in jail. He's facing some serious federal charges. Obrego Garcia, according to the indictment, was part of a massive human smuggling operation. Imagine that. Apparently, over about a 9-year period, he was alleged to have made over 100 trips to transport illegal aliens across the United States, from Mexico up to the East Coast, Maine, Maryland, wherever. The indictment claims that he worked with at least 6 co-conspirators using cell phones, social media, and the like to coordinate with the smuggling of thousands of people from countries like Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, and Ecuador. The indictment also alleges that Mr. Garcia not only smuggled adults, but also children and women. I don't know why they differentiate women when they said adults, I would assume women would be adults too. But I guess it makes it sound better if you say children and women, class them together, you know? So Mr. Garcia is accused of exploiting the innocence of minors for financial gain, placing illegal aliens, including children, in unsafe conditions like hiding them in modified vehicles to maximize profits. I assume that means stuffing as many in there as he could. In one case, he was pulled over in Tennessee. He had a Suburban that had an aftermarket third row of seats installed in the cargo area, which was occupied by illegal aliens. And if I remember correctly, there was suspicion of human smuggling at that time, but ICE was not notified. It was either known or suspected that one or all of the occupants of that vehicle were illegal. So why that fell through the cracks, I have no idea. The indictment alleges that Garcia was affiliated with MS-13. Of course, that was a big to-do several months ago when he was removed from the United States. You know, everybody remembers the picture of his hand, his knuckles, showing the depiction of the tattoos that indicated MS-13, which is one of the most violent gangs in the entire world. And the indictment also alleges that he used his gang connections to advance his criminal activities. There's a surprise. According to the Justice Department, he and his co-conspirators also transported illegally purchased firearms from Texas to Maryland for distribution and resale. So this cat is moving humans, and he's an arms dealer. On top of, Lord knows, drugs, beating his wife, whatever else he was accused of. He had over 100 trips. Okay, 100 this day and age doesn't seem like a lot. That's a long drive. You ever made that drive? From South Texas? It takes about 3 to 5 days just to get across Texas, it feels like. But to go from South Texas up to Maryland, that's a drive. That's not just a few bad apples either. That is a full-blown criminal operation. But the left wants to paint Mr. Garcia as a victim. Of course, as always. You know, that's why we had Congress people, persons, whatever the politically correct term is, going down to El Salvador and having margaritas with the man. Give me a break, okay? Attorney General Pam Bondi, she came out. She had a little statement to say about the whole thing. So just take a listen. It's a little long, but bear with me.
Obrego Garcia has landed in the United States to face justice. On May 21st, a grand jury in the Middle District of Tennessee returned a sealed indictment charging Obrego Garcia with alien smuggling and conspiracy to commit alien smuggling in violation of Title 8 U.S.C. 1324. We want to thank President Bukele for agreeing to return Obrego Garcia to the United States. Our government presented El Salvador with an arrest warrant, and they agreed to return him to our country. We're grateful to President Bukele for agreeing to return him to our country to face these very serious charges. This is what American justice looks like. Upon completion of his sentence, we anticipate he will be returned to his home country of El Salvador. The grand jury found that over the past 9 years, Obrego Garcia has played a significant role in an alien smuggling ring. They found this was his full-time job, not a contractor.
So this guy wasn't a contractor? He didn't do construction? He didn't go to church on Sundays? He didn't live a good, wholesome life? Surely you jest.
He was a smuggler of humans and children and women. He made over 100 trips, the grand jury found, smuggling people throughout our country. MS-13 members, violent gang terrorist organization members throughout our country.
You know, I really do support our Attorney General Pam Bondi, but I really don't like the way she emphasizes every other word. It's a little aggravating. Anyway.
Thousands of illegal aliens were smuggled. This is especially disturbing because Obrego Garcia is also alleged with transporting minor children.
These are minor children. These are not adult children, okay? These are minor children. But just think about this. If this is one guy, Obrego Garcia, and he is alleged with smuggling thousands, as they say, imagine how many people around the country are doing this very same thing and how many people are being smuggled in. If one person with 100 plus trips does 1,000 or 3,000, 5,000, I don't know how many thousands, then imagine how many thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people were smuggled in illegally. Just think about those numbers for a minute.
The defendant traded the innocence of minor children for profit. There are even more disturbing facts that the grand jury uncovered. It is alleged this defendant is part of the same smuggling ring responsible for the death of more than 50 migrants in 2021 after the tractor trailer overturned in Mexico. This is part of that same ring. The defendant abused undocumented alien females, according to co-conspirators, who were under his control while transporting them throughout our country. This defendant trafficked firearms and narcotics throughout our country on multiple occasions. They were using vehicles, SUVs, with added seats in the back, floors that had been ripped out, guns, narcotics, children, women, MS-13 members. That is what the grand jury found. A co-conspirator alleged that the defendant solicited nude photographs and videos of a minor. A co-conspirator also alleges the defendant played a role in the murder of a rival gang member's mother. These facts demonstrate Obrego Garcia is a danger to our community.
A danger to our community, she says. As if we didn't know that the first time we got him out of the freaking country. But the left has to cry and whine and throw their little temper tantrums until they think they get their way. But that's not going to happen, okay? So here's what's going to happen next. As she kind of alluded to, if Garcia is convicted, he faces up to a decade, maybe longer. I'm not sure. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a judge. In U.S. prison. So he could sit here inside the U.S. in our prison for up to a decade. I don't really agree with that. I mean, just not that I'm saying prison is a luxury place, but he's going to be surrounded by people like him, people who agree with him, his friends, probably people who he's worked with. He's going to have air conditioning, cable television, all the luxuries because of the civil rights stuff. You know, I'm not against civil rights. I am against prisoner rights, though, to a point. I don't think they should be tortured and abused, but I don't think they should live in the lap of luxury either. We can possibly get into that another time. So he faces possibly up to a decade in prison, United States prison, and $250,000 fine, which I'm sure is probably nothing to him. But after he serves his time, he'll be deported back to El Salvador. More than likely, probably right back to CCOT. That's the law. Even if he's not convicted, he's going to be deported right back to El Salvador. Either way, he's going back to El Salvador. And President Bukele in El Salvador is not going to let him among the populace. He's going back to CCOT. That's going to happen, I promise you. There is no way President Bukele agreed to let him come up here with this arrest warrant out of his prison to face charges and not put him back in CCOT down there. That's just what's going to happen. So this is all just a smoke and pony show by the left so that they think that they're doing something important. They're giving him his due process, as they're so quick to yell for. It's not about anything other than their own ego. But what it is about is the rule of law, okay? Our founding fathers built this country on the idea that laws matter, that order matters, that justice matters. President Trump, he understood that, and that's why his administration fought so hard to keep Garcia out of the country. But the liberal left, these lunatics on the left, they're more concerned with protecting illegal aliens than protecting American families. And that's obvious in everything that they do. Let's not forget, Trump administration was the first in decades to actually enforce immigration laws by the books, by the numbers. Now, we've had presidents in the past who are deporting folks. It's just a regular run-of-the-mill deportation thing every day. These are deportations, processed. Okay, you're not supposed to be here. Just get on the bus. We'll drive you back. So according to recent data, under Trump, President Trump, arrests of illegal aliens with criminal convictions increased by over 30% compared to the previous Otto Penn administration. We're talking criminal convictions. It is my full belief, if you're here illegally, you're a criminal already. You don't need to be convicted. You have broke the law. There's no two ways around it. But what they're talking about are people who have done murder, rape, kidnapping, any number of heinous crimes, and they have been convicted. Now these guys are getting out of here. Finally, they're not just sitting around on our dime. But you know who doesn't care about these numbers or the stats? The liberal lunatics on the left. They're mad because President Trump is removing a large portion of their voting population. They might actually have to get out and do some work to earn votes, but I don't think they're going to do that very well either. They're sure not doing it very well right now, especially with a large portion of the left, at least moving center, if not all the way right. It's turning into a wild, wild west show, and it's not turning out good for the left. The rule of law is finally being followed. America is being put first, and that's the way it should be. Simple as that. Folks, let me talk to you for a second about My Patriot Supply. America stands strong when we stand prepared. Here on The Springer Show, we know that protecting your family means being ready for anything, whether it's a natural disaster, a power outage, or just life's unexpected curveballs. That's why I trust My Patriot Supply for survival food that's second to none. Their long-term food kits are packed with hearty, delicious meals, real meat, real vegetables, and over 2,500 calories per day. They're made right here in the USA, and these meals are designed to last up to 25 years. So you can rest easy knowing that your loved ones are going to be fed no matter what happens. I don't want you to wait for the next crisis to hit. Get prepared early. Take control and get the peace of mind you deserve. Head to preparewiththespringershow.com. Preparewiththespringershow.com and get your survival food today. Now we're going to get into something that, even as I have been jotting down notes about the situation, there are constant updates. It's hard to even keep up with what's going on. So I'm going to start with where I originally was with it, and then we'll just kind of add in some of the updates that are going on. We're talking about the riots in LA. LA riots, which seems to become a commonplace term these days. Anything that upsets the people over there, well, they're going to riot. It's just a leftist revolt against law and order, and that's the only way they know to do things. It almost feels like every week LA is erupting over something. This time it's the ICE raids, federal agents doing their jobs, forcing laws, going after people who are here illegally. And what do we get? Riots, protests, chaos, pandemonium. It's overwhelming. Let's break it down, okay? ICE agents raided several businesses, including home repair stores. I'm not going to say the name of them. It's not the blue one, though. It's the other one. And a clothing wholesaler, along with plenty of other places. They detained dozens of people suspected of being in the country illegally. Those arrests, since I have jotted these notes down, have been moved up to the hundreds. And, of course, it's not just illegals. It's people interfering with their raids. But what happened during these raids? Protesters clashed with law enforcement. Surprise, surprise. People are protesting the rule of law in L.A. Okay, what's new? Flashbang grenades, pepper spray, they were used, and at least one union president was injured and detained while trying to interfere with a raid. Here's what really gets me, okay? The response from the liberal left. We're talking about Democratic Mayor Karen Bass, even the Governor Gavin Newsom. They've got to get out there on TV and run their mouth. They're out there calling the raids things like cruel and unnecessary, saying the city is under attack. It's under attack? The city's been under attack. The city's been under attack by illegal immigrants. So they don't see that. So law enforcement's out there doing their jobs. They're not attacking anyone. They're enforcing the law, which is obviously what the mayor and the governor are not interested in doing. LA Mayor Karen Bass made a social media post, and she stated this, quote, "This morning we received reports of federal immigration enforcement actions in multiple locations in Los Angeles. As a mayor of a proud city in so many ways, I am deeply angered by what has taken place. These tactics sow terror in our communities and disrupt basic principles of safety in our city. My office is in close coordination with immigration rights community organizations. We will not stand for this." End quote. I don't understand how a mayor can get off openly going against law and still be a mayor. But I guess the people there vote her as the mayor because they're lawless themselves. I took her statement and I kind of broke it down. I want to interpret it for us lay folk. Basically, she says, "This morning we found out that the federal government was doing exactly what the majority of the country elected them to do. As a mayor who wouldn't even be present during the wildfires when they began to burn down our entire city because I was on vacation in Africa, I'm now mad that criminals are being taken off of our city streets, making our city safer. I have been in contact with activist groups who are far left-leaning and will provide people to demonstrate and protest to make it appear that everyone is really upset." I want to amend my statement a little bit now because apparently people really are upset. It's not that the criminals are being taken off the city streets. It's that the illegals have been taken off the city streets, which are bringing the criminals out. These are the criminals that are out now causing the ruckus. Karen Bass doesn't care. She doesn't give a damn about that city. She never has. The only thing she cares about is getting another term. So this is another reason to put her face in front of a camera to try to seal the next election. That's all she gives a dang about. According to recent statistics, in fiscal year 2023, ICE enforcement and removal operations made over 170,000 administrative arrests. Of those, over 70% had criminal convictions or pending criminal charges. That's right, the majority of people ICE is going after are criminals. But the left wants you to believe that ICE is out there terrorizing innocent victims, innocent families, which is just not true. Mind you, those statistics were 2023. I'm not going to say it, but let's just think about who was president back then. Whose administration was it back then? And that was over 170,000 arrests, okay? And over 70% of the 170,000 had criminal convictions, which means they had due process. They had their day in court, and they were convicted, or they were pending criminal charges. And this isn't the criminal charges of just being here illegally. That's already made you a criminal. These are other charges. But the left wants you to think that these are victims. These are just poor, unfortunate souls who are just sadly here and trying to make a better life for themselves. And the big evil government comes in, just tears them apart and sends them back home. It's just not true. You've got congressmen and activists who are threatening ICE officers, law enforcement officers, with doxing and harassment. That's not just wrong, it's dangerous. It's an attack on law enforcement, plain and simple. It's part of a broader leftist revolt against law and order, okay? You can't come out here and, as a congressman, threaten law enforcement officers. I don't see how you can keep your seat in Congress if you do that. I get Congress, you're a representative of the people. Maybe the people in your area want to go against law enforcement and harass them. Maybe. So maybe you are accurately representing them. Or maybe you're just playing for your own sick, twisted thoughts and ways and not giving a dang about the rule of law. And you should be removed from Congress. So what I'm talking about is House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is calling for doxing, which is releasing the identification of personal information of the ICE agents who are wearing masks so that they are not the targets of personal retaliation. Hakeem Jeffries wants them to be the target of personal retaliation. They're already receiving death threats and harassment, as well as their families. Take a quick listen to what Hakeem Jeffries has to say about this.
Every single ICE agent who's engaged in this aggressive overreach and are trying to hide their identities from the American people will be unsuccessful in doing that. This is America, and every single one of them, no matter what it takes, no matter how long it takes, will of course be identified.
Will be identified is what it said before it got cut off there. But why? Why do you need to identify them, Hakeem? For what? Do you want them to be threatened with death? Do you want bad things to happen to them? You know, freedom of speech comes about unless you incite imminent violence. And it sounds to me like with you sitting here and saying that they need to be doxxed, their identities need to be shown, they need to be identified, you're going to incite imminent violence. So I tell you what, Hakeem Jeffries, if these ICE agents are injured, if there's retaliation, their houses are burned down, their families are hurt, it all falls on you, and you should be held criminally liable for every bit of it. The Democratic left simply does not want to lose their illegal alien voter base. That's what it comes down to. They're pulling out all the stops. They're trying to convince you and I that without the illegal aliens, our nation would simply fall into ruins. It's not true. Here's another interesting one. It's not necessarily LA specific, but it caught my attention. This is Democratic U.S. House Representative from Vermont, Becca Balint. She has a very interesting take on the illegal aliens. Take a listen.
We have to come to a place in Congress where it is no longer a political issue, but we see it as an existential issue for the country. If we don't have avenues for people to come here legally to work or to build a home here, I'm going to be really crude right now. We're not going to have anybody around to wipe our asses because we don't have enough people.
I want you to think about what she just said. First, it's an existential crisis to our country. Existential meaning the very existence of. Without these migrants, our country will not exist, is what she's saying. Secondly, she's saying that without them, nobody will be around to wipe our asses. I don't know about you, your way of life, and what you do at your home. I know that I don't have anybody around to wipe my own backside. It's just something I kind of learned at a young age to take care of myself. Maybe she hasn't. Maybe Representative Becca Balint needs that. I don't know. That's her take on it. Let's look at the bigger picture here, okay? Over the past few years, we've seen a dramatic increase in violent crimes in major cities. In LA alone, violent crime is up over 10% in recent years compared to just a few years ago. Property crime is up even more. And yet the left's response is to attack law enforcement, to call for defunding the police, and to protest every time ICE does its job. It's like they want the crime for some reason. They want the chaos. They think that somehow you're going to keep voting for them. But now, I guess if we look at places like, Detroit, Chicago, I guess you will just keep voting for Democrats even though the places are going to hell in a handbasket. Not you guys. Hopefully not you guys anyway. Certainly not me. But the people who live there. I don't understand why that's what they want to live in. President Trump understood law and order is the foundation of a civilized society. His administration is working hard to support law enforcement and to restore order in our cities. But the left, they just want simple chaos. They want destruction. They want open borders. And they want to undermine the very foundations of our nation. And as mentioned, even while I'm sitting here talking to you guys right now, there's updates with LA. This place is wild. It's out of control. The last number that I have, ICE has done a series of raids across LA, including the West Lake District, downtown LA, and South LA. These operations have landed at least 44 people arrested on Friday alone. As of now, the number I have is 118 arrests total. That's not just illegal immigrants, though. That's probably people getting in the way of vans while they're trying to drive. People out there throwing rocks at them, which they're doing. There was a business owner who even locked some ICE agents inside a business. The FBI had to show up and get them out. And hopefully they arrested that business owner. The protests out there are escalating, as expected. They don't just come out, wave a few signs, holler a little bit, and then go back home. No, not in LA. These raids somehow have sparked immediate and intense protests. The funny thing is, the majority of these protesters are illegal aliens. So why not just round them up? You know, these cats are out there waving Mexican flags. They're out there waving these flags back and forth, Mexico, Mexico. It's quite obvious to me that these aren't people who just want to come here and say, look, we're proud of our Mexican heritage. No, you want to be here so bad. You don't want to be deported. You don't want these other people to be deported. You want to be here in America and live the American dream. Fly the American flag. Wave that. You're flying the Mexican flag. That tells me right there, you want this to be Mexico. You want this to be part of Mexico. You feel like you want a Mexican takeover. You don't belong here. You do not belong here. Go to Mexico. Wave your flag over there. You come to America, fly an American flag, you become an American. These protests are getting out of control. Demonstrators are gathering outside federal buildings and businesses. Some of the largest crowds have been in Paramount and near I almost said it, the Orange Home Repair Store. The protests are turning confrontational with law enforcement, which are using tear gas, flashbangs, less than lethal munitions to disperse crowds. The LAPD has come out. The chief of the LAPD came out on social media, and at first he said, listen, we're not part of these ICE raids. It's not us. No. Don't come after us. We're the good guys. We're just still out here patrolling, making sure everything's safe for you. Now the LAPD and the LA County Sheriff's Department are declaring unlawful assemblies in several locations, warning protesters they could face arrest if they did not disperse. And that easily comes back to the First Amendment when we talk about the unlawful assemblies. We talk about First Amendment says, or the right of the people to peaceably to assemble. Peaceably. That's a pretty important word there. Peaceably. These cats aren't peaceably assembling. These guys are out here in Paramount and in Compton. They're setting cars on fire. They're igniting bonfires. Do you understand what you guys are doing? Your city just burned to the ground. It's still in ashes. You have fire hydrants that don't work. You have a fire department still trying to put pieces back together, and you're lighting it back on fire again. These guys are out here blocking streets with overturned shopping cart. I mean, that's theft and vandalism at a minimum. And they're putting other debris in the streets. In one instance, there was a vehicle which was engulfed in flames at an intersection. It probably wasn't even an ICE vehicle. It's probably just some poor person's car. The fire department and law enforcement were working to extinguish the fire and protect emergency responders. You know, there was the video of, there was a car, and it might have been the same one, that was on flames in an intersection. And this one dude on a motorcycle, looked like a dirt bike, riding circles around it, waving the Mexican flag. It's too much. Take your butt back to Mexico. I'm not saying it would have been any better if he'd been riding around it waving an American flag. Don't sit out here and wave the Mexican flag and tell me how Americans are wrong, but you're on our soil. There's video footage and live reports. They're showing ongoing clashes right now. If you turn on the news, you can see all kinds of updates. It's getting wild. It's getting crazy out there. Protesters are out there throwing fireworks, rocks. They're engaging in skirmishes. They're fighting the police. It's getting out of hand. Pepper balls, non-lethal rounds are used. At least one protester was injured. I'm sure there's probably more. There's been several arrests for assault on federal agents, obstruction. It's nuts. So you know what? Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom have the right and the responsibility to act, and they're not. Absolutely not. So you know who does? Yeah, President Donald Trump. He says, you know what? This is out of control. Absolutely not. We're not going to be doing this whatsoever. So what does he do? He federalizes the National Guard and orders around 2,000 National Guard troops into LA. He's not playing around. He's not messing with them. He says, you know, you guys can't control what's going on. Okay, we'll go ahead and control it for you. But since that happens, now you've got folks like Adam Schiff. Yeah, this guy's a class act. He's saying that he's calling on the National Guard without authorization of the governor. Authorization, which is unprecedented. Adam Schiff said that. The action is designed to inflame tensions, sow chaos, and escalate the situation. No, it's not. What you guys are doing is doing that, okay? Adam, let me tell you, the National Guard being federalized, you don't need authorization from the governor, okay? And it's not unprecedented. It is rare that it happens, that a U.S. president will activate a National Guard without discussing the options or, I guess, the authorization of the state governor. However, it's very legal, and it has been done before. And it's a correct action in this case. Most notable examples during the Civil Rights era, such as when President Dwight D. Eisenhower federalized the Arkansas National Guard in 1957 to enforce school desegregation against the wishes of the state's governor. Okay, and President John F. Kennedy did the same thing in Alabama and Mississippi. The actions are taken under the Insurrection Act, which allows the president, now I want you to listen to me, it allows the president to federalize the National Guard to address insurrection, rebellion, or when state authorities are unable or unwilling to enforce federal law. That's exactly what this falls under. Letting them just come out here and riot and burn the city down again is not going to happen. Karen Bass and Governor Newsom either help or get out of the way. Simple as that. Community tensions are rising. People are going to start getting hurt bad. People are going to start getting killed if they haven't already. There's people who are getting trapped inside businesses. There are people who are scared to leave their own homes because these don't just come into riots and protests against, the federal government. They turn into mobs of angry people who will do anything to anybody just because they're getting away with it. It's happened time and time again. Look at the Summer of Love in 2020, how that turned out. On today's show, folks, we've talked about standing up for our rights, being ready for whatever comes our way. That's why I'm excited to tell you about my Patriot Supplies solar generator with EMP technology. Imagine having a reliable power source, even if the grid goes down. No matter what's happening out there, these state-of-the-art generators are built to withstand threats from EMPs, solar flares, or just a simple blackout. You'll find essential survival gear and everything else you need to keep your family safe and secure and self-sufficient at my Patriot Supply. I don't want you to be caught unprepared. Prepare as much as you can. Take action now and visit preparewiththespringershow.com. That's preparewiththespringershow.com and see a full range of survival solutions from my Patriot Supply. Let me talk to you for just a second about cellular options. And this is something that's important to me because I personally have made the switch myself. I was tired of giving my hard-earned dollars to big telecom companies that don't share my values. And here on the Springer Show, we stand for America. And this is why I support Patriot Mobile. Okay, Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian, conservative wireless provider. Every dollar you spend helps support causes that protect our freedoms and our families and our faith. With nationwide coverage, great plans, and customer service that actually cares, switching is fast and easy. And these are some of the greatest customer service folks you're going to talk to. I absolutely love talking with them. They're friendly, helpful, and they make sure that they help you before they ever try to push you off the phone. They never push you off the phone, but some of these big telecom companies do. These guys will stay on the phone with you for hours if you want to, just as long as they get the job done. When you call to make the move, I want you to do me a favor. Mention my name, Brian Springer. Let them know that you're a part of our Patriot community. Take back your phone bill and stand with America. Call Patriot Mobile today and tell them the Springer Show sent you.
You're listening to The Springer Show, the voice of conservative truth.
All right, folks, so we want to get right here towards the end. I want to talk to you for a minute about taking our country back. something that has been on my mind for a long time, and I've really only recently gotten into learning a lot more about it and getting involved myself, is the Convention of States. This could really change the game, okay? The Convention of States movement is a grassroots effort to call a convention under Article 5 of the Constitution. The Founding Fathers gave us a way to take our country back, and the Convention of States group is leading the charge to use it. Here's just a quick rundown of how it works, okay? Not very detailed, but basic overview. If 2/3 of the states agree, that's 34 states, then they can call a convention to propose amendments to the Constitution. They would then need 38 states to vote to ratify those proposed amendments, which is 3/4 of the states. The Convention of States group is pushing for amendments that would limit the power and jurisdiction of the federal government, impose fiscal restraints, and set term limits for Congress and federal officials. These are things that Congress are not going to ordinarily vote on to limit themselves. So we have a way around Congress as defined by the United States Constitution. Every bit of this is legal. Every bit of this has been researched, and we're fighting to make this move. As of 2025, we have 19 states, 19, who have officially passed resolutions calling for a convention of states. There are several states right now that are passing resolutions in the House, and they are waiting on Senate votes to pass that resolution in order to join the list. That's more than halfway to the 34 needed to trigger the convention. The movement's growing every day. This is huge. It's about giving power back to the states and to the people where it belongs. It's about standing up to the overreach we've seen from Washington in recent years. It's about restoring the vision of our founding fathers, a government of, by, and for the people. The left, guess how they feel about it. Yep, that's right. They hate it. They hate the idea. They want more power in Washington. They want bigger government. That's what they're for. They want more control of our lives. The American people are waking up, though. We're tired of the swamp, tired of the corruption, tired of being ignored. President Trump is fighting for us, and now it's our turn to help him and to fight back. Looking at a recent Gallup poll, over 70% of Americans support term limits for Congress. That's not anything new. That's been going on for a long time. And that's also not a partisan issue. That's an American issue. This is on both sides of the aisle, folks. There are a lot of folks on the left side of the aisle who want to keep the status quo. Why? Because it benefits them. These are going to be folks who are career politicians. These are going to be folks who are 30, 40 plus years in Congress, receiving whatever the Congress pay is, but being worth 20 times more. These are the ones that's going to benefit. They're not going to want limits. You know what I mean? But so many representatives and senators I've talked to have told me they would be more than happy to get in there, work for 2, 4, 6, whatever years the limits are, and get out and let the next person come in. That's where we get fresh ideas. That's where we don't get bogged down with moving our country, such radical swings from left to right, depending on who's in Congress and who's in the White House. That's where we get fresh ideas come in. That's where we get more people conversating and talking and bringing the good of our nation together. We don't need the same ideas spewed over and over again. I mean, we've got videos of people on the left and the right saying completely opposite things about the same subject, depending on the year and depending on the president. So to say that these people are holding true to their values is just absolutely not true in itself. It's very refreshing now to see any folks with conservative values in Congress, but you still keep an eye on them. You're still leery. Okay, so 10 years from now, 20 years from now, are you still going to hold those same views? I understand people change their minds on things, but we want those conservative values in our country. If you're interested in taking the country back, getting involved, or you just simply want some more information on this situation, or if you'd like to support the Convention of States, stand up for our Constitution, and help us make America great again, I want you to go to conventionofstates.com, put it all together, no spaces, conventionofstates.com. You can get more information. You can sign their petition. Reach out to your local representatives and senators. Let them know that they need to support this and that we, as the people, want to be heard. There is a page on the conventionofstates.com website that will show you your local senator and representative and allow you a way to send them a phone message, talk to them, call them, also send them an email. And I implore you to do so. I implore you to reach out and talk to them yourself. Tell them how you feel. If you want to get involved with this, but maybe you still want more information, but the website is a little confusing to you, you just need to talk to somebody and have it broke down for you, shoot me an email. Talk to me. You can get me at springershow@protonmail.com. Springer Show, all together, at protonmail, that's PROTON, mail, all together.com. Let me know what your concerns are, or just tell me to explain it to you. You know, I don't mind answering every email that I get. If you want to leave your phone number, I'll call you. We'll talk about it. We'll have a discussion. You may, at the end of the day, not decide that it's what you want. You may want to help. You never know. But a discussion is always welcome. Just give it a shot, okay? Check out conventionofstates.com. This really is a good thing. All right, folks. So we've covered quite a bit today. We've gone over Kilmar Obrego Garcia, the fight for justice. We've talked about L.A. and the riots and the revolt at length. And every minute there's new updates. So keep up with that if you can. We've talked about the growing movement to take our country back with the Convention of States. There's a lot of things going on right now, but one thing is clear, okay? The left is trying to tear this country apart. They want open borders. They want to disarm law-abiding citizens. They want to silence dissent. But we're not going to let all this happen. We are going to stand up for America, for our founding fathers and the values that made this country great. President Trump and his administration are still working hard for the American people, even as the left tries to undermine them at every turn, every single thing he does. But we need to keep fighting, keep pushing, and never give up on this. Take a moment, give us a like, follow, share on all the socials. Find us, Springer Show, just search it up. And wherever you get your podcasts. Try to share the word. Send me an email, again, springershow@protonmail.com. I'll answer any emails that I get. Just be patient with me. It might take a day or so. And I'd love to have a conversation with you. But I really appreciate you guys tuning into the Springer Show. It means a lot to me for you guys to be here with me. And I look forward to bringing you some more good content. So stay safe. And, of course, God bless.